Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. Today, we have a little bit of a reveal that's going on. We are talking to you about something new that's happening on the podcast in 2022. So let's take a look. This podcast is brought to you by Map It Forward's new Patreon community, the Global Coffee Think Tank. Check the show notes or head to patreon.com/Map It Forward to find out how you can become a member today. In 2022, we are taking a slightly different approach with the Map It Forward podcast. So for those who are new to the podcast, previous to this year, for the past 4-ish years before that, what we were doing was we had the Daily Coffee Pro that would come out every day. And then we would have these epic long format conversations, which is actually how the podcast started. In the beginning, for the first couple of years, we would release an episode every week, and it would be a long format conversation with someone from within the coffee industry. And it was going great. And then people kept asking questions about, Lee, how do you do this in the coffee industry? And Lee, how do you treat this with your consultants? So we started coming up with these daily episodes, which we called the Daily Coffee Pro. So it was 2 podcasts in one. We have listened to some feedback and we are actually adapting something to the English version of the podcast that we did in the Middle East podcast, in the Arabic version of the podcast. What we are doing this year is we are still going to have guests, but because attention spans are shrinking, we have decided that we won't have the long format conversations as a normal part of the programming for this podcast. What we are going to do is we are going to have conversations with people, and we are going to be asking them individual questions over the time we would have normally had the long format conversation. And we will ask them somewhere between 5 and 8 questions. We won't predetermine the questions. They will just be as a flow on of the conversation. And we will then release each of the mini conversations that happen around a question. We will release them as individual podcast episodes. So they will become a part of the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward. And you will see the first series of that starting in the next episode. So on Monday, when the next episode comes out, you will see the first of 8 episodes with the fabulous Gibby Little. Gibby is the creator of the Gibby Jug, the world famous Gibby Jug. And we had a discussion around what it's like to be an innovative entrepreneur and the challenges that you encounter. So each of the series of the discussions with each guest will have a theme. The conversation will follow a very natural progression. And typically what happens is I'll email them like 3 questions that we might start with. And then we will just go from there. So over the span of 2 hours, Gibby and I had a conversation that covered how the Gibby Jug came about. But particularly what we wanted to explore was what hasn't worked out as she expected. And the reason is because Gibby has experienced a ton of challenges around people counterfeiting her products. And we explored how that happened, how she could have protected herself, why she couldn't protect herself in some parts of the world, and what damage that's done not only to her business, but what damage it's doing to her customers. And Gibby is a truly global business. The Gibby Jug exports to 20 different countries. And the challenges that Gibby has had to go through and the hoops that she has had to go through and the exorbitant amount of money she's had to outlay just to try and slow down the amount of counterfeiting that's happened is something that we explore over the 8 episodes of the podcast. A really fascinating discussion. But the reason we've decided to cut these conversations up and give them to you in more bite-sized pieces is because, we know what social media has done to people. Long format conversation is great, except it requires a lot of time. Now, this podcast produces a lot of content. We give you an episode every day of the week for weekdays, 5 episodes a week. When you're consuming 5 episodes a week plus an extra 2-hour conversation, that's a big ask from a time perspective. And what we hear a lot of people say is, I love all the content that you're producing. I just don't have enough time to listen to the long format conversations. But the shorter conversations or the shorter discussions from the Daily Coffee Pro, that's just a part of my morning when I'm getting ready for work, or I listen to it every day on my drive to work. So we have decided, and as I said before, we have listened, and this is the best solution that we came up with. We started doing this on the Middle East podcast, and it has worked fabulously. So this is coming over to this podcast, and every month you should see about 2 guests that are coming on. So sure, there will still be these episodes of the Daily Coffee Pro with just me, but they will be a lot less frequent. So with Gibby, we've got 8 episodes. The guest that we have coming after Gibby is Carlos de la Torre. Carlos is the barista champion for Mexico. He is the owner of 3 small businesses in Mexico City. And he talked specifically, that series is specifically about how the Mexican supply chain in coffee, all the way from producer all the way to the cafe, how it's been affected by the pandemic. And it was a fascinating discussion. We tried to keep each episode short, but we struggled. But it's fascinating. It's very different to what you might think. The reason Mexico was so interesting to me is because they were a country that didn't get any government assistance. And so to see how the supply chain coped with that, and to see how people had to adapt and businesses had to adapt, and the things that they found out was really, really fascinating. And I hope that you enjoy it. Now, what I'm going to make a request now. We want to bring you the kinds of episodes that you want to hear from. So I would love, particularly if you're in any of our if you're a patron on our Patreon, please go to our Discord community and start talking to us about who are the kinds of guests that you would like to see on this podcast. Now, the reason is we are here this year to ask the question, what are the problems that exist in the coffee industry? Not what are the problems that we think exist in the coffee industry. What are the actual problems that do exist in the coffee industry? And if we can figure out what those problems are, we can start to bring on guests that can start helping us unpack perhaps the history of how we got to this point, perhaps suggest some different approaches from other industries that could provide solutions. So if you are a patron, head to Discord and let us know your thoughts. If you're not a patron yet, please head to the show notes and consider supporting this podcast. You can do it for as little as $3 a month and become a part of the Global Coffee Think Tank in our Discord community. And even if you can't afford to support our our Patreon, I would encourage you to leave your comments in the in the comments section below, and click like to show your support. I hope you enjoy the episodes coming up with Gibby. There will be 8 of them, and I will see you for a couple of episodes after that before we present you with the episodes from Carlos de la Torre. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.